Would you drink this water? I wouldn't, and I know most people wouldn't. But thousands of Nicaraguans and Costa Ricans wake up every day to water just like this. And they don't have any other choice except maybe to walk 2 or 3 miles carrying water to bring it back to their house. The Agua Viva story starts on a mission trip to Costa Rica. And on that trip, we found thousands of people drinking dirty water out of shallow wells that were hand dug, in some cases by children. And when we saw that, we felt we had to do something, because that water makes the children sick, makes the adults sick, and is very, very unhealthy. These wells are very close in proximity to their septic tank because they have no running water, they have no bathrooms. I was amazed at the poor conditions that these folks lived in. So I started making phone calls. Every single person got as fired up about this potential to bring clean water to these people. And so one by one, the pieces started falling together. We got a drill rig and sent it down to Costa Rica, which took about 9 months to get through customs. And we sent a team and we were off and running. We spent the next 2 years trying to get our well systems to work, and we failed and we failed and we failed until finally we struck water and made it work. 17 years later, we are about ready to put our 100th well into the ground. Now we get asked a lot of questions about what we do and how we do it. And one of the most frequently asked questions is, how do you drill the well? So here's how we build our community well systems. We have a committee that reviews requests, and the requests come in the form of letters. And the committee makes a selection as to which rises to the top. Very hard because everybody's in need. There's individuals, there's schools, and then there's sites that potentially could be communities. And some of the factors are, how close is it to where we operate in Los Chiles? How much is the need? How many people could we possibly serve with the system? So obviously some of the schools and communities rise to the top because we can serve more people with one well. Our communities have been very successful, and when they're successful, it attracts people to come to the area. And in a couple locations, this has also caused our water system to be extended into Nicaragua, although all of our wells are currently in Costa Rica, which is where we operate. Once we've selected the site, we need to go out, see what the terrain looks like, see if there's electricity, because some of these sites are getting 50 miles away, which doesn't sound too much to us here in the States. But with the roads and the mud and the rain, that could be 3 hours or more each way to get to the well site, which makes it hard to get much work done. The other part of the process that's very important is the commitment of the community. We don't own any wells. Those wells are all owned by the community, because we want these to be sustainable. So we need to see full buy-in from the community to be part of the process to help build this well system and then operate and maintain it into the future. So once we've identified the general site, then we look for the specific exact location. And once we find that, then the group pulls out divining rod. And a divining rod is 2 sticks, and supposedly when you hit water, they cross. That's where we drill for water. Now comes the exciting and fun part, actually drilling the well and creating the water system. And it all starts with a mud pit. The mud pits are used as part of the drilling system, which is called the rotary wash system. And the mud pits are used to circulate the water through the system. Now, to start the mud pits off, we need water. And that water is obtained from a local stream or a lake. We pump it into a big tank that fits on the back of our truck, drive it out to the site, and pour it in the holes. We then add chemicals, which helps keep the clay and the soil from sticking. Otherwise, it'll stick together and clog up your drill bit. The drill bits are about 6 to 8 inches in diameter, and the drill rods then screw on top of the bit. And all this is being powered by a hydraulic drill rig, which creates the friction at the bottom, but it also puts downward pressure on the entire system to help dig that hole. And then as your bit goes down, the drill rods are 5 feet, and one will go down to the bottom, and then you unscrew them, put a new one in, and keep going. So it's constant motion, keep adding and adding drill rod. and the water is pumped down the middle of the drill rod through the bit and then comes back up through the hole and then back into the mud pits. So there's a constant circulation of water, and that rig, which is the heart of the whole operation, is what we have to tow around from site to site to site in order to drill these wells. As we drill through the earth, we hit different layers of material. And the layers of material go something like this: red clay, white clay with blue specks, more red clay, sometimes rock, and black gravel. And you can see them floating in the mud pit. And the mud pit might change colors from maybe a little darker red, maybe a little lighter red. And then you can start seeing white chunks of clay coming up out of the hole. And that usually lasts about 6 to 8 feet. And then you get back into red clay and you keep getting deeper and deeper and deeper. Each of those layers is denser than another. So as you're drilling, your speed changes. So one layer, you may get through a foot in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And another layer, like that white layer, may take an hour or 2 hours. And you're waiting for some black gravel. To understand that black layer, picture a jar full of rocks. And if you poured water in it, the water would sit all around the rocks. That's what that black layer is like. We usually like to drill another 2 or 3 feet into that layer. And we have found that when we hit that, that's the money layer, we've got it, we're gonna get water. And if you think geologically, that water has probably traveled miles to get into that layer. So it has been filtered for years to get to that point so we can pull it out clean. In fact, we have brought water back to the United States, and the water meets American drinking water standards. When you hit that money layer of black gravel, there's a lot of anticipation because we know from history we should have hit water, but you really don't know for sure until you see how quickly the well recharges. So you do a test where you pump it out and see how fast the water comes back. And the faster it comes back, the more water you know you're gonna have. The shallowest well we have dug is 98 feet, and the deepest is 326. And it can take as little as 3 or 4 days, and we've had wells take up to 10 weeks. So the next step is to case the well, which is basically putting a pipe all the way down the middle of the hole, which keeps the hole from collapsing. So once the casing is down, we need to clean the well. There's a lot of silt and sediment left over from the drilling process that we need to get out of the well, make sure it's clean so the water from that black layer can get inside the casing freely. We have an electric submersible pump and a big air compressor and put a hose all the way down to the bottom of the well and shoot air down, which then takes the water and shoots it up into the air. The higher the water shoots, the more water we know we're getting at the bottom. And to help make sure that well is clean, there's a biodegradable soap that is added. So we keep flushing until there's no more dirt coming out of the system, and usually that's like when the bubbles stop. We've used up all the soap, and clean water is just coming and coming and coming. Water demands in Costa Rica, just like the United States and probably anywhere in the world, peak at certain times during the day. Usually in the morning when everybody gets up, they want to take a shower, they want to have coffee, they want to brush their teeth. So we need to find a way in a large community with hundreds of homes to have a large water source available for them whenever they need it. So we've devised a system with a tower that can be 20 to 50 feet tall and tanks up to 22,000 gallons. The pump then pumps into the tank. So the tank will be full, say, in the morning, and then these hundreds of homes can draw down off of it. When it reaches a certain point, the pump will kick in again and start filling it up. Ideally, we're looking for about 15 gallons per minute to come out of the well with the submersible pump in order to keep up with the demands of the day. And now we get to one of our most challenging stages, the pipeline. The pipeline is how we get the water from the tank into people's homes. And it flows basically by gravity because the tank is so high, it pushes the water through the pipes. And we're seeing close to 20 pounds per square foot pressure at each of the homes. When we started getting more interest in mission teams coming down, one of our challenges was how to keep them busy at the well site. But once we have these pipelines to build, we now have miles of trench that can be dug, so there's plenty of work. It's very hard, but very rewarding, because you can just turn around, look behind you, and see the results of your efforts. This is where the volunteers, both from the US and local, are very instrumental in making this happen. We currently have about 20 miles of pipeline in the ground in the Costa Rica area. Once all the trenches are dug, we roll the truck in and pull the pipes off the truck, lay them in the trenches, glue them together, and then we have to backfill the trench, and then it's ready to go to the next step, which is the hookups. At each home, just like you would have here in the US, there's a water meter that we attach to the end of the pipe at that location, and then there's a hookup that goes into the house. The meters that are installed with the hookups keep track of the water usage at every house, and that individual then pays into the fund, but it's used by the locals to maintain the system and make sure that it is sustainable over time. We use this hookup process not only to get the houses hooked up, but to teach the locals and the local committee. And that way, when people come to the area and want to expand our system, they'll be able to do that. They won't need to call us every time. It's a very special moment when the homeowner can turn on a faucet and get clean water for the first time in their life. It's a great feeling to see the look on their faces when this happens. The children are very excited and laughing and usually running around the front yard. And to be there to see this is also very, very impactful. And a lot of great relationships are created through this process. And that's it. That's how we build our well system. Our mission at Agua Viva Serves has now become to provide clean and sustainable water systems to those in need. If you look at La Trocha, one of our biggest systems, we built that for initially about 350 people. That community is now over 1,200 people, all connected to the Agua Viva water system. So we truly are building communities through installing water systems. The average well system costs $50,000, and it serves about 150 homes, which represents about 750 people. We need your help to build the next system. You can rest assured that 95% of your money will go directly into providing water for those in need. Please visit our website at avs.ngo to help us get to the next 100 wells. Thank you for your support.